whether the team is performing clean or unsightly. We'll cover it all here on Washington Football Nightly. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So you're probably thinking the lead story is going to be something else. We'll save that for in other news because it's really not as big a deal as I initially thought. But what I do want to start with is what I start with on every Tuesday, which is the offense. Had a chance to take a look at the film. And for those of you on Patreon, I apologize for the delay in the offensive film breakdown. Normally, you would have already had the first half film. I did something really boneheaded today. I recorded the entire first half and a sliver of the second half with no audio. Like, I got through the entire first half and I'm ready to go edit. And I get to the edit and there's no sound. I'm like, oh, my speaker must be off. And I turn the speaker on. Then I look at the mic and it's blinking. And that means that the audio is off, that the microphone was muted. In the entire 2.5 hours that I sat there doing the first half of this film breakdown is for naught because there's no audio. You can't hear what I'm saying. You just see the play. So got to go back and record all of that over again. You'll have all of it tonight at some point. By the time you wake up tomorrow, you'll have all of the offensive film, which is what would be the case anyway. So I apologize for that on my end. That can't happen. I'm sorry. But you'll have the film in a timely manner, and we'll still be on schedule. You'll have the offensive film before you wake up tomorrow, and you'll have the defensive film tomorrow like you would normally get it on a Wednesday. So I just wanted to throw that out there quickly. But, you know, I find myself recently defending Scott Turner more and more these days. And I don't need to defend him. What we've done over the last month should speak for itself. And then I had to kind of take a step back and realize that the people that you're arguing with have no idea. They're not watching film. They're not on Patreon with you. They're not watching the film. They're not assessing what's going on. You know, and so why are you arguing with them? And that's what I got to tell myself, because if you're watching the film, then you would know that this offense, there's nothing wrong with it. As a matter of fact, there was a tweet today from John Keim, and I want to read this tweet to you. And yeah, there's definitely some context to this, and he makes sure that he says that in this tweet. But this tweet kind of illustrates what I've been saying and what I'm going to reiterate today after watching the film versus Detroit. And you see the headline, and it said, over the last month, this offense has been good enough to win, and it was again on Sunday versus Detroit, except the mistakes. We keep making these mistakes. Again, young football team, even with a veteran quarterback, you're still going to have some of these mistakes. And we had them again on Sunday. Missed opportunities, points left on the field, missed Dustin Hopkins field goal, fumbled by Terry McLaurin, missed opportunity to J.D. McKissick for a touchdown. These things come back to haunt you. A missed opportunity to Cam Sims on a second down. You'll see all of this on film. And I apologize because you should have already seen some of this on film already. But as I told you, I messed up with the audio. So you'll get it all and you'll have a chance to see exactly what I'm referring to later on tonight. But John Keim writes on Twitter, in the last 4 games, Washington's O ranks 6th in yards per game. All right. 1st in third downs. Come on, guys. 8th in time of possession and 20th in points per game. And that's the big one. You know, you can be great on third downs, which we have been. You can be really good in yards per game, which 6th is awesome in this league. And you can be awesome on time of possession. We dominated time of possession against the Lions in the first half. We dominated time of possession, and we were still down 14. Why? Because of that last stat, 20th in points per game. And that's where, and really, what it all boils down to is, what are you doing? Are you finishing these drives? Are you getting anything out of these drives? Because you can convert 4 or 4 on third downs and then get to your last third down of the drive and fail and go 4 or 5 on a drive on third downs and have to settle for a field goal and then come out of that drive with nothing because your kicker misses. Well, what the hell difference does it make that you just ate up 7 minutes of the clock? All right. You amassed 72 yards on that drive because you started at your own 8 and you missed the damn field goal. What difference does it make? Doesn't make any difference, does it? Because you didn't get any points out of it. So that's where that comes into play. John also writes, all 4 games, and this is the caveat, versus defenses currently ranked 16th or lower in yards per game, faced 3 top 11 in the first 5 games of the season and ranked 32nd in total yards, 30th in points per game, and 32nd on third down defense. So we've faced some bad defenses recently. So I get that. But again, you can only beat who they put in front of you. You can only carve up the defense they put in front of you. You can't say, no, I don't want to play the Giants or the Cowboys this week. Give me a tough defense. Give me the Ravens this week. Give me the Steelers this week. No, that's not how it works. You play who they put in front of you. All right. And ever since Kyle Allen took over the reins and then passed it to Alex Smith, this offense has looked the way that I think it's supposed to look. And so I feel like Scott Turner's getting into an offensive groove. There were a couple of plays. I think I counted 2 in the first half that if he had over again, that he shouldn't call. And if he had to do it again, he probably wouldn't. Obviously, hindsight is 20/20. We all know about the 2nd and 3 from the Lions 14-yard line that went awry, that he shouldn't have called on the reverse. I don't agree with that call, but on film, if you watch it, and I played devil's advocate, I said, if Alex Smith just gets a piece, I'm not asking for him to block that guy. Just get a piece. Just be in the way. It's a touchdown. I need you to understand it. And the film will bear that out. If you are on Patreon, you'll see that. But he didn't get in the way. And that's fine. You don't want your quarterback to be the lead blocker. You just want that defensive end to crash down. He didn't. He stayed at home. He did his job. He blew the play up. At the end of the day, that was one. There was a 2nd down and 3 toss play on the short side of the field. You know how I feel about short side of the field runs. If you've been with me on Patreon, I've explained to you why I hate short side of the field wide runs and wide plays in general. They run a toss. The Lions blow it up for -2. It's 3rd and 5. So those are the 2 that I wanted back. Outside of that, I thought the first half was sparkling. And the second half was outstanding as well. And so this guy's been phenomenal as a play caller. Early in the season, I think a lot of the limitations that we saw was a new offense being installed with players that were getting acclimated to a new system and a quarterback that wasn't really capable of digesting all that they really wanted to do. They could sit here and try to make as many excuses as they wanted to for Dwayne, but the fact of the matter is the reason we're running 8 million wide receiver screens, we don't run wide receiver screens anymore, really. You know, there are times in this game where I'm like, hey, you know what would be nice here? A wide receiver screen. They're not running those anymore, but they don't have to because they can run other things and accomplish the same thing a wide receiver screen accomplishes without the headache of guys having to get out on the edges and block and have everything kind of sync up. Just run your routes and guys get open and you get them the football and you'll achieve a 10-yard gain without the hassle of 8 guys having to do everything perfectly on one play to get it to work. So this offense is good. Scott Turner is calling good games. He's giving us opportunities to win football games, and for a number of different reasons. Lack of execution, mistakes, missed opportunities, whatever the case may be. You know, you got a play that he calls a fake screen, pump and go for a touchdown to Cam Sims. Not a touchdown, for a chunk play to Cam Sims. And Cam Sims runs into the defender who's trying to get to J.D. McKissic, which is what you want on the play, because J.D. McKissic is faking the wide receiver screen, and you want the defenders to come up to that so that you can get behind him and Alex can hit you, and he runs right into the cornerback. Like, come on, Cam. What are you doing? And he's still open on the play, and Alex doesn't get it to him. But because the timing was messed up because Cam Sims ran into the cornerback instead of running around him, Alex came off of him and ended up having to throw the football away. So it's simple execution mistakes. You got J.D. McKissic over for a touchdown and Alex overshoots him. You get into the red zone and Terry McLaurin fumbles the football. Or I think inside the 30 and Terry fumbles. Like, these are the things that kill you. In this 4-game stretch, despite all the numbers I just read you from John Cont, 6th in offensive yards and 1st and 3rd down conversions and 8th in time of possession, despite all of that, we're -6. And I gave this stat to somebody last night when we were watching the Washington Nightly show together live. I gave him the stat. He said, what's Washington's plus minus right now on the season? What's that ratio? And I told them, we're right now, and I remember looking at this at the bye week. We were -1. We were -1 in the giveaway takeaway ratio, the plus minus ratio. And I said, that's not half bad considering we had a 5 turnover game versus Cleveland. It's not half bad to be just -1, at this point of the season. In the last 4 games, we're -6. That's why we're 1-3. The great equalizer, as I call it. It's not a coincidence that in the one game where we won the turnover battle, we won the game. In the 3 games that we lost the turnover battle or broke even in the turnover battle, we lost. In week 6 versus the Giants, we turned it over twice in that game. The Giants turned it over once, hence -1. We lost that game, 20-19. Week 7 against the Cowboys, we won the turnover battle because we forced a fumble or we picked off Andy Dalton. Cole Holcomb had the pick in the red zone right before half. The fumble and safety don't count as a turnover, but it's a turnover. It really is. So you could argue it's 2, but it's 1. It doesn't go down in the stats as a turnover. So it was +1 for us in that game. We won the game. Giants game, we know that was a train wreck. We didn't force any turnovers, and we gave it away 5 times in that game. Okay? It is what it is. All right? And in this game, we had a turnover, and we didn't force a turnover. So when you look at it, I'm trying to think. Did we force a turnover versus the Giants in week 8? Or week 9, excuse me? I don't think that we did. I feel like we did. I know Daniel Jones fumbled once, but he recovered that. We had a chance to force a fumble. We didn't force a fumble. I don't think they ever turned it over in that game. We didn't pick him off in that game for sure. So I don't think they fumbled in that game or turned it over at all. And thus, we were -5 that day. So that's a total of -6. And then we were -1 against Detroit because we had the Terry McLaurin fumble. We didn't force a turnover of Detroit. They didn't fumble the ball. We didn't pick off Stafford. So that's actually -7 over the last 4 games. -7 in the turnover differential. So I feel like I'm missing a turnover somewhere. And maybe that Dallas turnover, the forced fumble and safety did count as a turnover because it's -6 because I remember looking at it at the bye week and it was -1 and now it's -7. And I told that to somebody in the comment section yesterday of Washington Football Nightly that we were -7 at this point of the season. And that's good for 3rd worst in the league. Only 2 teams are worse than us in the turnover differential to this point of the season. I can't remember who they are. I know Dallas is one of them, and it's another really bad team. And we're 3rd. So that's the killer. You want to look at the bad teams in the league. That's the first stat you go to is turnover differential. And you'll pretty much see all the teams that are 2 wins, 1 win, no wins. All you got to do is go to turnover differential, and that'll tell the story right there. That's why we're 1-3 in this 4-game stretch. We could easily be 3-1. We could easily be 4-0. But when you turn it over and you don't get turnovers back, you lose football games. This offense has been good enough to win games. Every single week for the last month, this offense has been good enough to win games. Good enough against the Giants the first time, and you had the 2 costly mistakes. Good enough to beat the Cowboys. They did beat the Cowboys, devoured the Cowboys. Good enough to beat the Giants the second time, but you turn it over 5 times. Not going to beat anybody in this league turning it over 5 times. And then, or was it 4 times in that game? That's where the mistake might have been. I feel like we turned it over. Let's count the turnovers in that game. Or I could just look it up. How about we just do that? Because I'll sit here and be here forever trying to recall how many times we did this, how many times we did that. And how about I just look it up? How about I just do that and save us the headache of trying to figure out what we did or didn't do. And it'll all make sense once we do it that way. So let's go to our games and see. This Giants game is the one where I think I might have messed up. Might have been 4 turnovers in the game, not 5. I feel like it was 5, though. It was 5. I know I wasn't tripping. 2 fumbles and 3 interceptions from Alex. And you had the Isaiah Wright fumble and you had the Gibson fumble. So it was 5. Let's see what the turnover differential was in the Dallas game. Maybe that's where I made the mistake. Nope, they called it. I told you that sack fumble didn't count as a turnover because Dallas actually recovered. So it was 2-1 against the Giants. I do remember that because we had the pick and the fumble, and Daniel Jones just threw the pick. So that one was 2-1. So that's minus, and then we were -1 against the Lions. So it's -7. I got that right. I didn't have it wrong. It's -7 in the last 4 games, not -6. It's -7 because of those mistakes. You lose football games. It's really simple. You know, you got to take care of the ball. We haven't done that. And so that's how you end up on the short side of the stick. It's on the short end of the stick. And the offense has been good enough. It was good enough a month ago against the Giants. It was good enough 2 weeks against the Giants. 2 weeks ago against the Giants. It was good enough this week against the Lions. And we can sit here and talk trash about the defense, this, that, and the third. But at the end of the day, the offense was good enough to win the football game. They were. But you got to execute. The offensive play calling, it wasn't the problem. Everybody went, oh, Scott Turner's terrible. You got to stop defending Scott Turner. No, you got to watch the goddamn film. That's what you got to do. Don't talk. If you're not watching film, don't talk to me about Scott Turner. Don't talk to me about Scott Turner. From now on, when somebody complains about Scott Turner, the first question I'm going to ask is, are you watching the film? I need proof. Are you watching film? If your answer is yes, then I'm going to quiz you. And if you can't answer the question, then you're not watching film, and now I know you're lying, and you're just being biased. At this point, you have an agenda. You don't like Scott Turner, you want him gone. For whatever reason. Because if you're watching the film, you would understand that you could have philosophical differences with Scott Turner. That's fine. You want to run it? I already told you. I explained this to you yesterday. We've never been a smash mouth football team. Stop it. You can want to be that all you want, but that's not who we are. That's not who Morgan Moses is. There are only 2 guys on this line right now, as it stands, that can be smash mouth defender, run blockers. And those are our 2 guards, Wes Schweitzer and Brandon Sheriff. Everybody else on the line are finesse blockers. Morgan Moses is a finesse blocker, and that's fine. He gets the job done. Chase Roulier is a finesse blocker. That's fine. He gets the job done. And whoever is at right tackle, it doesn't matter. You pick a guy. Doesn't matter. They're both finesse tackles, whether it's Cornelius Lucas or it's Jaron Christian. They're both finesse blockers. You can't run block physically with finesse blockers. It doesn't work. They're better at getting out in space and getting to the second level or pinning a guy and sealing and turning their ass. They're better at that than driving a guy off the ball. We're not the Tennessee Titans. We'll never be the Tennessee Titans. And that's okay, because you don't have to be a physical, mauling football team to be successful on the ground. You don't have to be. The Chiefs aren't mauling anybody. They can run it, and they run it out of gun. The Eagles don't run it a ton, but when they do, they have success. Okay? So you don't have to run it from under center and smash mouth and run downhill gap schemes to be able to be effective in the run game. So get that out of your head. So if that's what you're looking for, and if that's why you don't like Scott Turner, then you're just going to have a problem with Scott Turner, because that's not who he is as a coordinator, and that's not what we are as an offense. And if that's your biggest gripe, you go right ahead. I'm not going to try to persuade you that this is what we should do or shouldn't do. If that's what you have in your mind made up that you want this team to do, then you're going to be upset for probably till the end of time, because this league is evolving and it's changing, and gone are the days of teams going downhill, smash mouth. There are only a select few of teams that can do that. The Patriots can do it. The Titans can do it. The Ravens can do it. They're built to do that. We're not. Most of the league isn't built to do that. Okay? Most of the league is built to spread you out and run the football. Most of the league is running zone run blocking scheme. And frankly, those teams are very successful. The Packers are a zone run blocking scheme team. So are the Vikings. Dalvin Cook's the leading rusher in the league. They're not running gap scheme. They're running zone run blocking scheme, and he's cutting it back, and he's gashing teams. Okay? That's not smash mouth. That's getting to a guy, reaching a guy, and sealing. That's cutting it back. That's stretching the defense and cutting it back. That's what we are. We just don't have the back right now to take advantage of some of these cutback lanes. Maybe he will evolve into that. Maybe he won't. We'll see. But at the end of the day, Scott Turner's doing a phenomenal job for a first-time play caller, and he's giving his team a chance every single week. And we're not executing. We're turning the ball over. We're missing opportunities. That's not on Scott Turner. Alex Smith not hitting J.D. McKissic on a perfect out-and-up call from Scott Turner isn't Scott Turner's fault. Terry McLaurin fumbling the football when we're driving for points, or at least an opportunity to get points, isn't Scott Turner's fault. The 2nd and 3 reverse, that is his fault. The 2nd and 3 toss is his fault. Those happen in the course of a game. You're not going to get every single call right. The defense gets paid too, and they get to make plays as well. And if they play the right defense against your call, they got you. He's made more good calls than bad calls this last month of the season, when he's had guys in there that he knows can run his offense, and he's given us a chance to win, and we haven't gotten it done. That's where we are right now. The defense can do more. The offense can do more. It's a collaborative effort. The defense has let us down. The offense has let us down. The special teams has let us down. It's a collaborative effort. When you hear about complementary football, you see it with this team. We lack that. Special teams picks us up. Danny Johnson gives us a great 46-yard return. How about that? We don't get those very often. Out to midfield, we start a drive down 14-3. And we don't convert. That's the drive where Alex Smith misses J.D. McKissic for the touchdown. And that was a third down play that J.D. McKissic missed. That was a third down. Very next play, Dustin Hopkins trots out to the field and misses a field goal. You get nothing. Danny Johnson set us up at midfield, and you get nothing. Complimentary football. Special teams gives you great field position, and the offense doesn't take advantage. That's Scott Turner's fault. Dialed up a great play for a touchdown. Complimentary football. We didn't execute. We get no points. Now it's still 14-3. You want to win games, you got to take advantage of these things. Simple as that. We don't. That's why we sit here at 2-7 instead of 4-5 or 5-4 right now on the season. In other news, Matt Ioannidis has COVID-19, the very first Washington player during the season. Remember, we had a positive COVID test in the offseason, but we haven't had one in season. One of 3 teams that hadn't had a positive COVID test since the season started. Now there are only 2 because Washington has been eliminated from the ranks of the unscathed, as Matt Ioannidis tests positive for COVID-19. Now, the big coup here is that's not going to impact our team. They still got to shut down the facility because he's been doing rehab there, and he didn't make the trip with the team to Detroit. So more likely than not, none of our players are impacted by this because they haven't been in the facility. Most players haven't been in the facility since the game. You know, you got some guys coming in for treatment. You got other guys coming in, maybe get some weight training in. But for the most part, Ioannidis is the only guy right now that we know of. He's been on IR since week 3, so he shouldn't really be impacting the rest of the team. And they're going to have to shut down the facility to make sure everybody's straight. And they're going to have to do all of their meetings through Zoom in the interim, the coaching staff, things of that nature. I surmise by the time we get to Thursday, being that this is a home game, we'll be less affected because we should be able to get back into the facility and do the things that we need to do from a practice standpoint and a meeting standpoint. Once they clear everyone, make sure that everything's straight, check out the contact tracers to see who he was by. Again, because he was on IR, he shouldn't have been by a lot of members on the football team. And the only guys that he should have come in contact with for the most part are members of the training staff. So I think we're going to be fine on this one, being that it was a player that hasn't played since week 3. But we got jinxed. It's crazy because Scott, what is his damn name? The guy from NBC7, Scott something. Can't remember his damn name. But he was the one that brought the damn question up at the podium last week. And Rivera said, "You're going to jinx us." And then he brought the question up to Del Rio. And Del Rio said, "You're going to jinx us." And then he brought the question up to Kendall Fuller. And Kendall Fuller said, "Hey, man, you're going to jinx us." Well, he jinxed us. Thanks, guy. So hopefully this doesn't really impact the team. I don't think it will when it's all said and done, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. So our first COVID-19 positive test is a guy that, hasn't played since week 3. So I think we should be fine, but hopefully this is our first and our last positive COVID-19 test, especially when you've got a head coach dealing with cancer. You definitely need your players to stay clear of COVID-19. So all systems go to this point for Cincinnati on Sunday. I don't think this is going to be that big of a hindrance. And I think we should be able to get back into the facility here shortly and back to regularly scheduled programming. I think that's it for today. Tomorrow if we get back to regularly scheduled programming, we'll hear from Ron Rivera, we'll hear from Jack Del Rio and company. No, we'll hear from Ron Rivera and Scott Turner and maybe and Alex Smith tomorrow, if they're able to get into the building tomorrow. If not, we may not hear from any of those guys. So we'll see what happens. Remember, tomorrow is a live show, 8:30 p. Looking forward to joining you guys for Washington Football Nightly. We can talk about anything under the sun revolving this team, revolving around this team, I should say. Regarding this team is the word I was actually looking for. And so, if you want to talk draft, I know a lot of you are really excited about that. It's as the weeks go by, we get closer and closer to that being the main topic of discussion. There are still football games in season that I'd like to talk about, even though this team stinks and the season's done. And I understand that. There's still games and guys can continue to develop and grow. And these games matter. These games matter. Even if it doesn't matter for the sake of the division, it matters that these guys are getting invaluable experience. And if you want to continue to see this team grow, you need to see these players taking these reps and getting better with these reps. And so a lot of these guys are a part of the future. As I mentioned yesterday on the program, we don't stink from a talent perspective. We don't stink. There was this perception early in the season. Remember, Dwayne's agent came out and said, Dwayne doesn't have a lot to work with around him. You're benching Dwayne, but look at the talent around him. And I told you, Rivera was pissed because you remember in the presser that next day, Rivera stepped up to the podium and he said, well, guess what? Kyle Allen's going to have that same talent around him. Same guys. We'll see how he does with them. He was pissed. He should have been pissed. You don't come out here talking about my goddamn team. You don't know shit about my team. And as we've seen, and if you want to defend Dwayne, you can by saying, look at the defenses that Dwayne faced. I will grant you that. But I just know this offense looks better. It's running smoother. It's running more efficiently. And everyone's being evaluated because they're being put in positions to succeed better than they were before. And a lot of that has to do with the quarterback. Call it what you want. Worst defenses, whatever. Facts are facts. Yeah, we've played a lot worse defenses. And we'll see some better defenses down the stretch. We'll see what they're able to do against some better defenses down the stretch of the season. But at the end of the day, you can only perform against the teams they put in front of you, as I mentioned earlier in the show. And when I look at this team and I look at what they've done to this point, I'm really pleased with the growth and maturation that I've seen from the offense. I think the defense has taken a step back these last couple of weeks. We'll talk about that more tomorrow when we get to the film breakdown for the defense. But all in all, another solid offensive performance that should have netted this team a win. But because of mistakes, missed opportunities, turnovers, you don't get the win. And that's a sad state of affairs, but that's where we are right now. So That'll do it for your man Louie T here today on Washington Football Nightly. I look forward to chopping it up with you tomorrow. Remember, if you haven't already done so, what are you waiting on? Go ahead and subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Go ahead and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And hit that like button on the way out if you haven't already hit it. And support your man Louie T. Also, if you want to support, I've got merch. You see me donning the LTN cap. We've got beanies. We've got hoodies. We've got shirts. We've got masks. We've got a ton of items. Check out the website, theprintchamps.com/LouieTeeNetwork. It's down in the description. Check it out along with the link to the Mob Squad. If you're not a member of the community, we watch these games together every week. We laugh together. We cry together. We watch these games and we scream together. If you want to be a part of the community, hit that link down in the description below and become a member of the MOBB. But that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. I thank you for joining me. I'm your man Louie T, and this has been Washington Football Nightly. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap. Hand to Riggins. Good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone.